Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audiofiction. This is the series The Perfect Birthday, written by Jheqia, narrated by Dawn, myself, hello. And this is for Jheqia's Wednesday. So this is chapter 4. So if you haven't listened to all the other chapters, they will be listed below. Go and check them out. Make sure you go and give some love over to Jheqia. All her information is in the description below. Massive thank you to Mauka for the use of the art in the thumbnail. All her information is down below. Make sure you smash the like button, comment down below what you think of it and what will happen in the last part, chapter 5 next week, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and I hope you enjoy. Chapter 4, Crashing the Party. Why did it have to be today? Marinette thought as she ran back up the stairs and out of sight of the crowd. Hawkmoth had the worst timing. Transformed, she swung off towards the trouble, hoping that Adrien would be safe. The sooner Cat and I get this cleaned up, the sooner I can get back to Adrien's party. Landing on the rooftop, Ladybug observed the chaos. The Akuma victim was a large one. Dressed in a red suit and a messenger bag, he was launching white missiles at the nearby buildings from large round epaulets on his shoulder. The missiles were causing a panic, with people running and screaming trying to get away, but there was also some people who just collapsed on the ground where they were. She used her yo-yo to snag a young girl and pull her out of range, discovered the girl was in tears. She didn't seem to notice that she was out of harm's way, just curling her knees to her chest and sobbing. A large red F was written on her forehead. "It's okay," Ladybug said, giving the girl a hug. "You're going to be okay." But the girl didn't respond to her at all. Was this Akuma victim causing some sort of emotional trauma? If so, the people that were just sitting there were in danger of being either trampled by the crowd or falling debris. Right, evacuate the paralyzed ones first. She swung back and forth across the street, catching up people as she went and getting them to safety in the alleys and side streets. She saw the Akuma victim fling red Fs at more people as he made his way down the street, leading to more rescues. "Come on, Cat Noir," she said through gritted teeth. "I can't get a plan together if I'm busy doing triage. I can't do this alone." "Sorry I'm late for the dance, m'lady," said a familiar voice from behind her, "but traffic was a nightmare." She turned to see Cat Noir gently laying down an old man with a red F on his forehead. "So, what do we know?" "This is a big one with multiple attacks. Watch out for the red Fs that he flings from his bag. They seem to paralyze you with fear. And he launches missiles from his shoulders." "Any idea where the Akuma is?" "The bag is only my guess so far, but I have been a little busy trying to rescue the paralyzed ones." "Right," he said, putting a hand on her shoulder. "I'll take the rescues while you assess." "Great. We need to end this one quickly, Cat." "Why? Got a hot date or something?" "Let's just say I wouldn't want this to ruin a good party." Why did Cat have that goofy grin on his face? "Well, let's make sure it's a red letter day for the right reasons then, shall we?" he crowed and launched himself off with his baton to rescue more stragglers. Ladybug groaned and rolled her eyes, but then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw something that chilled her heart and threatened to choke her. A cloud of red butterflies swept down the streets, finding people with red Fs becoming akumatized. This was Scarlet Moth again. Not today of all days. "Cat, look out!" she cried, pointing to the newly akumatized victims. They were both launched onto a nearby roof. "Looks like Scarlet Moth decided to crash your party," Cat said. "Then let's even the odds," she replied. "Lucky charm!" Into her hand dropped a small wrapped box, identical to the one that held the fencing patch she had made for Adrien. Her eyes narrowed. "What, is it your birthday?" asked Cat. She glanced around at the destruction and chaos below them, and she couldn't think of how to... Wait, Birthday! Right. This is too big just for us. I'm going to get some help. Keep your head down until I get back. As you wish, my lady, he said. And Cat? Keep an eye out for Adrien Agreste and his bodyguard, will you? I saw them at the tower on my way over. Right, he mumbled. Was he blushing under his mask? Deal with that later. I need to go and crash a party of my own. Cat Noir watched from his perch on top of the street lamp as Ladybug swung off across the rooftops with her Lucky Charm present. Did that have something to do with his birthday surprise? He could deal with that later as Adrien. In the moment, he was Cat Noir and needed to focus on the now. But there was nothing he could do to stop the flood of Akumas that swarmed the streets, turning the paralyzed victims he and Ladybug had removed to safety into new monsters. He managed to evacuate the last of the people from the street, hopefully preventing more victims on the red butterflies. But there were at least 10 more akumatized victims in the street behind the man in red. And how many more are there in the nearby streets? He didn't like the odds at all, even if Ladybug was going to get help. Maybe he should try a plan of his own. If the Akuma was in the bag, as they guessed, then he might be able to stop this fight before it got any worse. Catalysm! The dark destructive energy swirled around his hand. Cat extended his baton and slid down to take a swipe at the man's bag on the way by. His clawed hand grazed it, but as it started to disintegrate, he received a backhand blow to the head that sent him tumbling across the street. Shaking his head to clear his vision, he readied himself to fight. Suddenly, a yo-yo wrapped around him and pulled him away, just as the man in red launched a missile at him. Boy, am I glad to see you, LB, he said as she lowered him to the ground. Rena Rouge, Carapace, and Viperion were with her. I got the bag, but no Akuma, she grunted as she assessed the numbers array against them. Go feed your Kwame Cat. We're going to need all of us at full strength for this. You too, he said as her earrings beeped and showed a single dot. Right. You guys stay under cover. We'll be back in a minute. She grabbed Cat's hand and ran around the corner to a side street, one clear of the other. She let go of him and continued through an open door of one of the nearby shops. Plag, claws in, he whispered, flipping a piece of cheese to his Kwame as he came flying out of the ring. Make it quick, buddy. Adrien's heart was pounding as loud as the explosions coming from the next street. That Ladybug had called in Viperion meant she thought this was going to be bad, and they would need his second chance. Why did it have to be today of all days? He groaned. Ladybug had planned special surprises for his birthday, and now here they were in the middle of a fight she wasn't sure she could win without going back in time to fix things. And Marinette? Where was she? Had she gone away, or was she one of the akumatized victims raging in the next street? He had even lost the box of macaroons she had given him in all the chaos of escaping the tower and transforming. Well, hopefully she was safe, and the Miraculous Ladybug would fix everything else, even if they probably wouldn't return her gift. He heard sobbing coming from the building Ladybug had ducked into. Plag, claws out, he whispered. He heard it again and quiet talking. Had Ladybug been injured in the fight before he could get there? Or had she been caught by one of the akumatized victims? His senses on high alert, he peeked around the corner. There was Marinette, leaning against a wall and sobbing. A small red creature floated beside her, holding a yellow macaroon identical to the one she had given him. Oh, Tiki, why did it have to be today of all days? Even if we get through this, Adrien will never know. Alia was right. It'd been the scarf all over again. It's gonna be okay, Marinette, said a high, sweet voice. Just focus on purifying the Akumas. Everything else will work out afterwards. Cat's eyes opened wide as he ducked back around the doorframe. That small red creature had to be a Kwame. Ladybug's Kwame, which means that Marinette is Ladybug? Marinette was tired. Up early, school, party planning, running around with Adrien for the scavenger hunt, and now a massive Akuma fight? Was Adrien safe? Had he and his bodyguard gotten out of the range of this? Why did their enemies have to pick today to throw a power punch? Mayura had to be powering Scarlet Moth again, but she hadn't seen a sign of either of them. How are we supposed to defeat this many Akumas? She racked her brain while Tiki finished her macaroon, but she didn't have enough information. Maybe once she got back to the scene, something else would come to her. "Milady, are you ready?" Cat Noir's voice called. "Just a second," she called. "Tiki?" Her Kwame nodded. "Spots on." As a supersuit formed around her, she took a deep breath to steady her nerves. She could do this. She had a good team. They could do this. She ran out of the door and Cat Noir matched her pace. "Everything okay, Albie?" he asked, concerned in his voice. "Just a long day," she replied tersely. "Let's get this done." They leapt up to the rooftops where the others were watching the destruction wrought by the Akuma victims. "Anything?" she asked. "The missiles he shoots have writing on them, like a test paper or essay," Viperian said softly. She knew she could count on Luca to be observant. "He calls himself Failman. That combined with those red F's you described might mean he's a student who failed an exam," Rena said, tapping her chin. "Or maybe a stressed out teacher?" "Have any more Akuma victims joined them?" "Just a few, but I think the numbers are topped out since Cat destroyed the bag," Carapace said. "Viperian, set up," she ordered. "Cat, Rena, Carapace, stand by. Lucky Charm!" This time a red and black pencil dropped into her hand. She scanned the crowd of villains below them and then took a good long look at Failman. "Okay," she started, but Viperian tapped her on the shoulder. He looked pale and strained. "The Akuma is in the pencil behind his ear. Watch out for the ninja, the serpent, and the glowing staff, and the archer with the black arrows." "How many times?" she asked quietly. 15. She shuddered. "Anything else I missed?" He shook his head, but squeezed her shoulder in support. "Ladybug, Cat Noir, hand over your Miraculous to Scarlet Moth, and all this destruction will end," cried the crowd below as one voice. This had already gone badly 15 times. She looked again, this time the pencil behind Failman's ear. She glanced down the street and then at her team. "Okay, here is what we're going to do." Cat Noir was the bait again. Normally he didn't mind it, but he had a lot on his mind this time. Marinette was a ladybug. How had he not seen it? She was always running late, always slipping out or disappearing from the group when the Akuma alerts came up. She was always kind and generous and thoughtful. Why couldn't our everyday ladybug be the extraordinary ladybug too? He marveled. But that doesn't explain how I saw Ladybug and Marinette in the same place at the same time when we beat Kwame Buster. Oh, shake it off, Cat. She's coming. She's counting on you, whether you know her identity or not. You can't let her down. He was dancing ahead of the small army of Akuma victims, taunting them with his tail belt. "Come on, Failman," he called. "Are you going to get my Miraculous, or are we waiting for me to mail it to you?" Okay, not his best work, but the only thing he could come up with. Suddenly, Viperian was at his side, dragging him out of the way as 2 handwritten missiles landed in the space where he'd been. "Thanks, but I saw them coming," he said. Viperian pointed, and then he saw the throwing star and the black arrow that were spreading yellow and black tendrils to the street. "Right, didn't see those." "No problem." Viperian leapt away. Cat didn't envy him. Luca had the hardest job, keeping the rest of the team safe while Ladybug set up a plan. From his own timer's aspect, he knew how exhausting it was to keep jumping back in time. Add to the strain of seeing every population of how things went wrong and your friends got hurt? Well, he was glad he was just the bait. He dodged a few more attacks, getting close to the lamppost at the head of the street near the Eiffel Tower, and heard Rena flute. Right, that means Ladybug was working on her end. Hey, Failman! Ladybug's voice was magnified and seemed to come from all around them. Come and face me if you can find the real me. Cat turned to see 7 ladybugs lined up at the head of the street. You and your little playmates are no match for us. That's what you think, Ladybug, roared Failman. I can take you all on myself. Then prove it, unless you were just bluffing and you think you're going to fail at that too. Ouch, Ladybug was feisty today. Not that she wasn't her magnificent self, but knowing that she was really shy, stammering Marinette made this whole day seem surreal. Maybe I just haven't had time to process it yet. But there wasn't time for him to process it now either. Failman screamed in rage from Ladybug's taunt, thundering down the street towards him. Cat Noir vaulted out of the way as the villain ran straight into the trap they had set, but which of the 7 ladybugs was his ladybug? A small flash of red shot over his right shoulder and landed in the path of the rampaging Akuma victim. The pencil! With the look that only Ladybug had, Failman slipped on it. Carapace, now! Ladybug shouted. Carapace ran out of the nearby side street with his shield in front of him like a battering ram, slammed into the man in red, sending him flying. Cat gauged his speed and raced to the end of the street. The villain landed in a barrel roll that dispersed 3 of the ladybugs before it got tangled in the yo-yo net hidden beneath them. Cat, now! He landed on the man's back and plucked the pencil from behind the ear. Mind if I borrow this? He snapped the pencil in half. The black-purple Akuma flew out. With a hiss click, Ladybug's yo-yo captured it, sending out a white butterfly in its place. As the power of the Akuma evaporated, the other Akumatized victims were released. The negative emotions having been induced by Failman could no longer be controlled by Scarlet Moth once the originated was defeated. Ladybug was everywhere like a red blur, capturing the fluttering darkness. Finally, when the air was filled with pure white butterflies, she used her miraculous ladybugs to fix everything. Pound it! They all bumped fists in the victory ritual. Thanks for all your help, guys, Ladybug said, looking drained. I'll collect the miraculous from you tomorrow. Go and get some rest. Rena, Carapace, and Viperian nodded and set off in different directions. As soon as they were out of sight, Ladybug collapsed on the sidewalk. Are you okay, my lady? Cat asked softly, perched beside her and putting an arm around her shoulders. Oh, Cat, she moaned, leaning her head against his shoulder in defeat. It's been such a long day. I had plans with a special friend for his birthday, and now I'm not sure if anything I had planned will happen. You know how the city gets after a Akuma attack? Cat felt a warmth spread through him at her sad words. Marinette had planned all these surprises for his birthday and spent the afternoon running all over with him just to make sure he felt special. No one has done that for him since Mother. He felt his throat closing at the thought. It'll be okay, he said, giving her shoulder a quick squeeze. How do you know? She snuffled. Because, he whispered, you're Ladybug. Thank you for listening to chapter 4 of The Perfect Birthday. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you go and send Jheqia some love for writing it. Send me some love by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of it and what's going to happen in the final chapter next week. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. February's coming and there's so much planned for you. It's unbelievable. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're good. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.